All right.
Alrighty, we should be live, and hello everybody. It is the Dark Conservatarian, and today we are going to be talking about a recent Idaho mom that got arrested. That's the main story that is going to be talked about. We're just going to jump right into it with no dilly-dallying, so let's go. So, Loudmouth, what have you heard about the one mom up in Idaho that got arrested for like going to a playground with her kids?
She kept repeating as they arrested her. I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Right. So I actually got reading more
Randy
into
Marsh
this.
meme, yeah.
So when I originally saw the video via a tweet talking about this, I was kind of thinking to myself, apparently authoritarianism has reached not just the coasts, but has also gone a little bit more inland as well. Then I realized that she had like damaged public property, and I was thinking to myself, okay, if she like damaged property, even if it was public, then I can see justification for the arrest. But on the other hand, I gone reading this article from Market Watch. It goes talking a little bit more about it. Well, actually, more specifically, this article was shared to me by LawyerBot on Twitter. Shout out to him, by the way. And so I find out that the public property that was damaged was freaking caution tape. Like maybe I can see the justification for fining her, but going so far to arrest her for that kind of, I don't see the justification in that regards. But at the same time, there's also another side to this, the whole going outside in a big group of people, being arrested for that as well. I mean,
they're trying to prevent a pandemic, you know?
Sorry, what?
This virus can kill.
I mean, no doubt that it can kill, but we'll be getting into the death rates a little bit later. And let's also keep in mind that it was like mostly kids, just to put things more in context. And kids have like probably the lowest risk, or at least one of the lowest risks among right beside young adults of actually dying from it.
A 5-year-old died of the disease in my neighborhood just a few days ago. Plus, and even if they don't die from the disease, they can give it to their older relatives.
Well, I'm sure that there is like anecdotes, and I would not be for just go on and visit willy-nilly all your elderly folks, everybody. But still, I just find the idea of arresting over this shit to be kind of, I mean, it's not like that they're even actively intentionally directly harming on anybody. I wouldn't even consider it so much as manslaughter if like you happen to pass on
well, the pandemic in 2009
what?
Oh, sorry, Metal's Zoomer. The pandemic in 2009 was clearly nowhere near as bad as this one. The society wasn't shut down for that one.
Well, yeah, but the society side of it, that is more because of government and fear as to why that is being done.
It's because this disease is a lot more contagious and a lot deadlier.
Well, no. Yeah, that's what the thought is.
It's a fact. You think the Chinese Communist Party would have shut down anything if unless they absolutely had to? They shut down their cities for months for this virus, and their entire economy contracted 9%. That's massive.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they did it for some other ulterior motives.
You think? Well, and I don't want to hear because they wanted to protect their people, because we've shown they don't give a fuck about you.
No, of course not. I don't think that. In fact, I would go so far to say that my theory is, anyways, that China knows the fickleness of fear that the Western world has in regards to this kind of stuff, and they exploited that in a way by just allowing the virus to spread like wildfire.
Well, they did allow
whether or not it actually kills en masse or not.
Oh, it has. Like I told this to you last time about how the real death toll there is like dozens of times higher than their official death toll.
Yeah, we're going to look a little bit more into those death rates a little bit later, because I know that I like saw the the actual raw number myself, that it's like around 40,000 since the beginning that we started contracting this here in the States. But
about 50,000, but yeah, that's which is pretty high, given that society shut down to prevent it, and everyone's wearing gas masks, and it's still killing that many people.
I think more of the people. You're both right. It's not deadlier, but it's more contagious, says Reckless Trucker. Notice me, you whores. Fine, I just did. I read.
Trucker, my man. I'll be setting up my own stream in like 15 minutes with him, so I'll be over there.
Yeah, and we'll I guess kind of more or less debate it out in that stream a little bit later. Okay. But I want to like give some commentary on the arrest itself. Like, I don't know, maybe I should not really be looking at the entire stream or the entire video itself. So there was like the original arresting. This guy right here, one of the police officers that was involved. Actually, let's just go ahead.
It's not a private park, it's a public park.
It is public, and we can close it, and we're closing it.
Okay, under what grounds?
I just told you. We can close it
I'm
anytime.
sorry, I didn't hear you. You don't need to talk to me rude. I'm just a mom with my kids.
You guys gotta go. Let's go get your kids.
So you're saying it's closed right here?
I am saying the playground is closed.
Okay, my
So
feet
get
are
your
on
kids
there.
out to the playground.
Are you going to take us off?
I can cite all of you.
You're going to arrest us, or you just said you're
I
arrested?
said you to be cited or arrested. I'm trying to be nice here.
That wasn't so nice.
Well, I gotta yell so you guys can hear me.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Fast forwarding a little bit.
So what is going on?
See, this guy, what I wanted to say is that this guy's a little bit more mild-mannered with how he's handling the situation compared to his hat-rocking partner.
COVID scare, yeah. I guess all this tape.
Why is he not wearing a mask is what I'm wondering.
Why is either of them not wearing a mask? That's kind of the question
cops should
that
be
they
wearing
have
masks
as well. What?
Yeah, if cops are going to enforce this shit on people, they need to be wearing masks.
It's kind of well, yeah. Thanks for pointing out the bit of hypocrisy right there.
Oh, that is extremely hypocritical right there.
Yep.
Statues on all this stuff, and I guess people tore it off. I'm sorry. I wish you could stay and play. Some angry kids, I get it. Hi guys. So I'm sorry. Hopefully this thing will open up soon. Okay, you guys have any questions?
Well, it's a public park, so I do wonder why it's being closed when it's a public park. I mean, we're not breaking a law.
You're not familiar with current events, lady.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess technically she's wrong in that it is against the law as of currently, but if I were in her shoes, I would be attacking it more on the grounds of I don't find those laws justifiable. I find them arguably unconstitutional and all that other stuff.
Close the park at any time.
Under what grounds? Under what grounds can they just come in and...
The city code says they can.
But we have to
With the
still pay
city-
taxes, right? And we're paying taxes down. We don't get a refund on the parks we're
I am
paying
not the
for.
one to argue with. The one to argue with, if you don't like it, is the mayor or the parks director. I'm just a law enforcement officer, and I've been asked to come here and make sure everything.
See, this guy seems to overall kind of disagree with how things are being handled, but at the same time, he's all like, it's not too big of a deal to where I'll refuse to do my job.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's just doing his job. And other than the not wearing a mask thing, I don't really see anything like that wrong about this guy.
I will say that there is a point of where that just doing your job does become outright immoral on the person who is just doing their job. Just a little FYI to all the people who are going to make all the police commentaries. So
Right, you're the line of enforcement on an order that, quite frankly, is unconstitutional.
Okay, that's something to take up with the mayor and the parks director.
But you're enforcing it right now.
Yeah,
It's your choice, right?
I could enforce it. I could charge people, but I don't want to do that.
Have you done
Yeah.
that? Have you
I
done
have
that at any
not.
point?
I have not. I
Okay,
don't
do you
want
plan to if people decide to?
Ma'am, don't get mad at me.
I'm not-
just
we're
out here. I'm
frustrated.
trying to.
Right.
So this
You'll
is
be
the
mad
deal.
at us. We're just the moms are paying taxes and frustrated with this whole thing.
the cops didn't want to arrest him, but they told him to do it. Don't dare, cop, says Aircraft Sparky. All right. It was more technically the guy in the hat, the one police officer in the hat.
I pay taxes too, and I'm frustrated with it as well. But you gotta leave the park.
Or what?
Well, the playground.
So we can be over there on the green grassy area.
Absolutely.
On the
It
paths with scooters.
doesn't make sense to me.
Whoever wants to talk, this is the parks guy. He can tell you exactly what you can and can't do. I will tell you, the playground is closed. We told you that. Okay?
Or you talk to this gentleman.
Well, he's not like, so he might be the park director though, but he's not going to cite us and he's not going to arrest us. And he's
But
not
he
going
can
to
ask me to
charge.
cite or arrest.
Okay, so what would you be citing us for?
Trespassing.
On the public playground
Public property.
that we pay for.
But we have the right to peaceably assemble.
Yeah, closed by the mayor's directive order.
We have the right to peaceably assemble. I do want to say that that's a thing that happened in Raleigh, North Carolina, if I recall correctly. Is that they were like they were shutting down a protest. The police were forcefully shutting down a protest against the lockdown order. I mean, that is like explicitly anti-First Amendment right there in of itself. I mean, this is not technically it. The prime intent is not as protest, but I can only I believe that that might be one of the side intents, one of the side intents that this woman was having as well. Not only to take her kids out to the park, but also slightly in protest of the lockdown and all the extra regulations and whatnot happening.
So it's up to you if you decide you would like to press charges or. Gotcha. No, we're just moms.
We're just trying to protect people here.
Right.
Out in the air with the sun.
Right. Protect us from getting vitamin D and letting our kids play in the sunshine. I mean,
You guys, you haven't read that the virus stays on plastic for like 72 hours or stuff like that?
So it doesn't stay on plastic.
Well, in her defense, I'm pretty sure that the park has remained untouched and dormant for over 72 hours. So, yeah.
In Costco or anywhere else, places are open with social distancing.
Kind of a gotcha thing, isn't
No,
it?
it's
I do want to say that is a fair point right there. I mean, wherever you go, there is going to be somewhat of a risk. You've been kind of quiet, loudmouth.
Sorry, I was distracted. My
Oh
dog.
no, it's all right. I mean, it just you seemed quiet, and so I was just
Yep, I am here.
all right. Gonna keep going.
we have rights.
You guys organized to do this?
No, we're just tired of
No,
this.
so all of you just showed up.
we showed up here so we could let our kids play and have a play date.
It's the mayor's order.
We showed up and it doesn't look close to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oops, jeez.
Then you shouldn't have bought your kids toys that were made in China.
We're just going to report our rights.
That would be a fair enough of a point right there. Boycott China. To the best that we can, anyways. I mean, it's hard to find stuff that is not in some way touched by China.
I mean, you may not agree with me, and this may not be very libertarian, but I support a complete ban of doing any business with the Communist Party.
I wouldn't say. I think that there should be some kind of repercussions. I just don't know if they should be necessarily government instituted.
No, they have to be. There's no other way. There need to be laws that punish corporations who do business with the Chinese Communist Party after this. That's the best way to punish them is by punishing American companies who do business with them. All right, simple. We'll take out everything China's done to this country out on corporations in America who've done business with them, these treasonous companies.
If I was to at least understand and argue devil's advocate on the logic that you're presenting here, there is a bit of a point to be made that this is like a roundabout sort of attack that China has done on the rest of the world. I mean, whether or not of how effective that attack was, particularly in a violent way, is debatable. but still. And so one could make the argument that maybe there should be some kind of repercussion in that way, like sanctioning. I actually was listening to the Mike Curtis
Oh yeah, absolutely.
podcast
I'm
saying
absolutely in for sanctioning. That's what sanctions are. They're trade restrictions.
But
yes, I'm for like really strict sanctions where American companies are just flat out not allowed to do business with the Communist Party. And make no mistake, any business that has an office or works in China in any way is doing business with the Communist Party. That's how things work in China. You have to be connected to the Communist Party in order to do business there. Well, the exception would be Hong Kong, but you can. There are some because of the whole one country, two systems thing. You can. There are actually some private businesses who function without the express permission of the Communist Party there, but that's it.
All right, Aircraft Sparky. Honestly, that is a straw man right there. Oh my God, you guys shouldn't feign being upset. You both seem to be fine with these restrictions. I certainly am not. I mean, I don't know to what extent that loudmouth is. I'm not fine with absolutely shutting down the park, much less arresting people for visiting the park.
I mean, I don't really agree with arresting her for visiting the park, but I don't know. It's very tough for me because I want this disease to stop spreading as well.
And also, I was totally against the executive actions that Donald Trump had put in place against hoarding and price gouging.
Yeah, I'm against
other such stuff like that. So, Aircraft Sparky, no offense, but you're being full of shit when you say that I'm fine with restrictions like that. The cop.
Yeah, some of the rules have been ridiculous. Like in Michigan, my governor here has been saying that we can't travel to, like, if we have a cabin between our homes, she can get fucked in that regard. How the hell is that spreading the disease? If you're visiting your own home, that's not a public area. Or
one second. The executive actions against hoarding isn't a bad thing. Kind of is for the precedent that it sets. And also, what if people are like just buying mass amounts of supplies for the fact that they have a big family or whatnot? Right, Mikhail in the chat saying horsing because Aircraft actually said horsing and not hoarding.
I mean, businesses can place restrictions on how much of a certain product people can buy.
Oh, of course. I'm all for private companies putting their own sort of restrictions. In fact, I'll go so far that I think that private companies, to avoid the hoarding, should like ID people for whenever that they come into their establishments. In this
I don't know really how they can
will ID people. What?
I don't really know how they could really do that, because you'd have to like put them in a database or some shit, and the average mom and pop store really doesn't have the means to do that.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, average mom and pop shops.
But even like a big chain like say Costco, I mean, can they scan everyone's ID card and let at the door? That seems kind of Orwellian.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not talking about the government saying that private companies should ID. I'm talking about private companies of their own volition IDing people. But anyway, a little bit of arguing that's going on in the chat. We're not going to be able to catch up on everything, so sorry, y'all. Just wanted to address that very quickly from Sparky.
You know, I saw it when I got here. I did.
Then maybe you should stay away from us. Do you have the virus?
I'm trying to back off, so you're supposed to,
You don't have a mask on.
Ma'am, I have told you to exit numerous times. This is it. Exit the playground area now. And don't, I really am trying to be nice about this. Because you guys aren't listening. I just told you exit the playground area.
But we're not trespassing. Are you going to know? Are you going to fight everyone for not social distancing over here?
Ma'am.
Are you going to? Going to?
Ma'am, you have 5 seconds. 3.
Arrest me for being in the car. Do it. Report it.
Okay, this is not. Officer, you don't want to do that. Officer, you don't.
You're being detained right now.
Am I being arrested or detained? Am I arrested or detained? Someone call Idaho Freedom Foundation right now and get them on the phone.
I think that might be pretty much all the rest that we need to see. Basically, they're just walking her out to the park with a whole bunch of ruckus being raised whilst she's being pulled out there to the police car. So, and that's about it. The cop in this video was quite nice, but the bitch begged for it. She got what she wanted. No, she did not want to be arrested. She just was.
She was kind of instigating it.
She knew that she was going to get arrested anyways. No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's exactly Randy Marsh. I'm sorry. I thought, was this a communist country? I thought this was America. Every time he got arrested in that episode, even though he only kept getting arrested because he was being a massive jackass who was starting fights with people.
Oh.
You ever saw that episode? It's one of my favorites. It's from 2005. Basically in it, they're playing baseball, and Randy would pick a fight with one of the dads of the opposing teams at every one of his son's games. Even in one scene, he actually brings a Spanish language translation book just so he can holler obscenities at this guy. This Hispanic dude.
No, I haven't, but I would say that it's not exactly equivalent, because in that case, the character in that movie was like directly harming people. She wasn't like directly, much less intentionally harming people herself.
And spreading the virus is harming people, though.
Well, I don't know the exact response for that, but I just don't find that to be exactly equivalent to
it's not exactly equivalent. It's just kind of.
Or I don't find it equivalent to throwing a punch at people, or for accidentally committing vehicular manslaughter or something. I mean, it's a little bit less of a chance that you're going to die or even suffer any permanent harm from catching a disease as compared to if somebody was to accidentally or mistakenly run you over.
Well, I'm not saying that it's exactly the same, but there's just kind of the similarity in the fact that Randy was acting like a victim of political persecution, when in reality he was just being a complete total jackass. He was getting arrested for that fact.
But honestly, I don't know how much more I'm going to watch of this, because it's a full 8 minutes, folks. Yeah. But basically,
I actually got to head to set up my stream now. But talk to you later, man.
Yeah, I'll see you on your stream, Loudmouth.
All right, see you later.
And for everybody who is like watching in the chat a little bit later after this stream, I'm going to join on Loudmouth's stream. We're going to like discuss / debate about coronavirus and whatnot. But like I was saying, I do not know how much longer I'm going to go on these videos, because they are kind of lengthy. I mean, this one in particular is 8.5 minutes long. But basically, to sum up the story at this point, there's a whole bunch of protests done in her name, and Sarah Brady's name is apparently her name. A bunch of protests were done against the specific officer who arrested her. I don't think that the other officer was harassed and whatnot, but the first officer, the older guy in the hat, was the main guy being protested against. And I would say, over the trivialness of what she was arrested for, I say that the protest was fairly justified. I don't know if it should have been done in front of the house or whatnot, but let's continue on. And later on, she apologizes for what exactly happened, but we'll get into that later.
Oh, God. Are you serious?
She was most likely arrested for being a bitch, says Aircraft Sparky. Well, being a bitch is not exactly a crime, so.
He's trying to say that you're the ones who are. We don't want to we want a free state. That's right.
Yep. Here.
Yeah.
None of us were there. We don't know what was going on. It makes it okay.
Who owns the park?
Let the investigation play itself out.
Yeah. She was just asking.
There was a woman at a park with her children, and she was arrested. Completely inappropriate. That's just the way it is.
And there was no police line to protect her.
What will happen is they'll grind her in the system that's called justice, I guess, until they spit her out, and she's either given up or you guys get your way. And that's the way I see it. I've been there.
Are you saying you don't believe in the First Amendment? Asks Metal Doomer. Who's that question directed to? To Aircraft Sparky or to me?
Yep. Can I ask you a question? Can you trespass on public property?
I mean, we just want to deliver.
Against her was trespassing on public property. How is that even possible?
The area was closed.
But it's
by what authority?
What authority?
What authority?
City Hall right now broke the doors down. They went inside.
We're not. They were damaging property.
No, it's a public park.
During daytime.
There were kids playing.
There was no lock.
I would like to say
What's that?
Miff Cuttlefish is in the chat. Hello, Miff Cuttlefish. She says, going to the cop's house is a little much, but I'm a woman. Okay. Well, yeah, like I said earlier, I think that the protest in general is justified. I just don't know if doing it at the house was the right call. If it was in front of the police station, well, then that would have been perfectly fine.
Make sure you stay on that side.
I work at my home.
Thank you.
You work for yourself.
Yeah. But this is public property.
This is very revealing.
Yeah. You guys are great right there.
So
You're okay?
Just stay on the sidewalk.
Hey, you know, I wish you guys would.
That's never happened.
I wish
This is a special privilege.
all the time.
This is a special privilege.
We do it all the time.
This is the blue line. Special privilege from the blue line.
I wish you guys would protect us. Like
We don't get this special privilege.
Amen.
I would like to
It's obvious I was talking to Sparky, says Metal Doomer. Well, okay, sorry, my bad.
say that people can go to Costco and touch all the things that they want in a closed environment. But mothers can't take their children to a park out
that whole Costco thing, I totally get.
Yeah, well, I mean, Costco, Walmart, Albertsons, so on and so forth. I mean, it's really honestly ridiculous.
Wait. Let me rewind that a little bit.
It's the blue line. Special privilege from the blue line.
I wish you guys would protect us. Like
We don't get this special privilege.
Amen.
I would like to say that people can go to Costco and touch all the things that they want in a closed environment. But mothers can't take their children to a park out.
That whole Costco thing, I totally get.
Yeah, well, I mean, Costco, Walmart, Albertsons.
Okay, the cop is like pretty much agreeing. The whole idea that we can go to a supermarket but can't go to a park seems a little bit self-defeating and contradictory.
So on and so forth. I mean, it's really honestly ridiculous.
But I understand that. I'm as frustrated as you are. You don't know what really drives me crazy? The toilet paper hoarding.
Yeah, but we're all
unalienable mean.
I know we need to be able to stop and protect those people who are violating rights in the street. But do you?
I'm just wondering what the word unalienable means. What does unalienable mean?
That was one of the funny things that happened when I first listened to this. When I first watched this video, folks, is the girl cannot properly pronounce the word unalienable. Instead, she's all like unalienable. I mean, not that I'm disagreeing with your cause, but if you want your own cause to look good, you might want to get a little bit more better educated about the pronunciation of words and stuff like that. Because unalienable, I mean, that's a common enough said word, especially when it comes to American politics. So I would think that any person with a basic knowledge in anything and able to talk about the issues would at least be able to say the word unalienable and not pronounce it unalienable.
I just want to make it clear. I want to make it clear to everybody. Nice or not? Absolutely not.
Zachary Cawley says, how was she disturbing the peace? Yeah, I would agree. She wasn't really disturbing the peace. It wasn't like she was harassing anybody. She wasn't even going up 2 feet, 3 feet in front of anybody and just breathing on them literally to purposefully spread the disease or anything like that. Much less was she laying a finger on anyone. So therefore...
The people will not. The people.
But yes, I would
if it was your way.
Hold on.
I'm here protecting you guys.
making a point here.
Hold on.
I just want everybody to know, everybody here, all the officers, the people will not allow you guys to do this long. for very long. You will not go into parks and arrest people.
That's
You
right.
will not go into parks and arrest mothers, or you will not go anywhere and arrest us for exercising what our rights are.
I cannot recall of what the name of the guy in the Stetson is, but I think he's like I don't know. I think he might be some minor politician, like some city board member or something, if I recall correctly. I can't remember. Maybe there's somebody in the comment section that explains who it is, but I can't remember. And I do want to say, like, kudos on the guy, because he is basically saying that if this continues much more, that there will eventually, at least, be violence. But for what happened specifically in this story, I am glad that there wasn't violence. I don't think that violence was really needed. And as far as I can see, I think the issue was resolved without violence. But let's see if we can, like, find who mentions who the guy in the Stetson is. Yeah, hello, True Grave in the chat. So I got a question to everybody. The guy in the Stetson in this video, cop served at home after arresting mother at park. The guy in the Stetson right here. Does anybody know who that guy's name is and what position he is? If there is, like, any particular political position he has. Because I almost want to say that I remember this guy being said to be some kind of local politician or something. I'm not sure. I could be wrong in that, though. I can say this with total honesty. I've never been more proud to be an American. Good job, people. Drive it home. Yes, hear, hear. And start arresting the politicians. Okay. That cop lied. He said he didn't know the kids were left there. He knew. He didn't care. They were trained to lie with a straight face. Fuck the police. Yeah. Aside from that, last statement though. But yeah, I mean, if that was said, basically the kids were left alone. So not only was there the harm of the arrest itself, but also the harm that happened directly after that. You're leaving kids without their mother just because she ripped up caution tape. That was it. I'm trying to find. Okay. Was I gonna? She could have. Was I gonna? So anybody? Did anybody? Did anybody like mention of who the guy in the Stetson was? Bundy from the Bundy Ranch, says True Grave. Yeah, there is some reminiscence back to Clive and Bundy, actually, now that you mention it, True Grave. I can't remember. There's some conversation going on right here. She could have easily protested and went about her business, but she decided to antagonize the cop. How was she antagonizing him? Stop dancing around the question. Darkon avoided playing that part. What do you mean I avoided playing that part? Like, I played enough context to know that, to show that she was basically arguing with them. And as far as what happened before, I mean, from when the clip had first taken place here, basically the first shot of the original video right here was the police officer already here trying to tell everybody, get out of the park. So I don't know what you mean by that. And from there, I played it 30 seconds and skipped about 30 seconds. I don't think there was anything within those 30 seconds that implies anything, but anyway. If you showed how patient the cop was, it shines a different light. Well, I did show a little bit of how patient the cop was being originally, but I don't care if the cop was being patient or not. I think that the act entirely of telling them to get out, and even more so the act of arresting her, is still unjustified. Anyway, continuing on.
Anywhere, and arrest us for exercising what our rights are. You do not have that right. We have. You have limitations.
I will
And
pass that information
don't-
on.
Well, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, you're
I'm
here.
talking to
You're
you
here.
And you and you.
Yeah.
And if you would pass that on, that would be great.
That's what I'm saying. I
we
will make sure that makes it up.
We will not sit by idle while you guys arrest people in parks.
Left a child
or
there.
In churches.
Citing people for having
or
yard
in
sales.
in their places of work. We will not allow that to happen. It just cannot happen.
Think of
We
what
will
this is
not
doing.
go back to where we came from in this country. We will not go back to that. And that's what is happening here. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, that is what is happening.
That's right.
That's right.
Are we going to allow our rights to be taken away from us?
No!
Are we going to allow the powers that be to abuse their power over the people?
No!
Or are we going to fight for our rights?
Now I have one more question. I have a right. We all have a right to petition for a redress of grievance to anybody who works in government. Right? This man here in this house evidently works for government. So how do you propose that we serve him with this petition?
You can hand it to me and I'll go give it to him.
Okay.
Do it right now.
Wait a second. Wait a second. We need it. Yes.
You do have a right to go to the store.
This one. Yep.
No, not until you've been told not to come on the property.
Well,
That
wait a
applies
minute.
to
Wait, wait,
Oh,
wait.
get him.
Yeah. You can wait across the street or whatever you do.
You don't get to make the rules.
That's right.
here.
No.
It's called the Constitution of the United States.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
have a right to petition for redress of
Would you like me
grievance.
to take that over to him?
You can
Fuck yeah.
escort him.
I'd be more than happy to.
Well,
Hand deliver, Mr. Bunny.
Hand deliver.
You also have the right to
Can you just go with him?
somebody serve that for you.
Someone
And that's
else
what the
will pick it
sergeant
up
is
and serve
asking
it.
you to do to keep this a peaceful protest. Yeah. And that is not.
What
in
are you-
favor of
I called the courthouse.
Just
several
walk-
times.
okay, well, I would
They would
like
not
to,
answer our
we would
call
like to
to
witness
serve
it.
it the proper
Just
way.
walk-
No, wait a minute. We have, and when you serve somebody, it has to be handed to them, and we will be sure that that happens here.
I don't know if he'll answer he wouldn't answer the door.
Just go with him to the
Well,
door. He's not going to do anything.
I'll go up the back
Okay,
door.
there's some sticky on the back, so just FYI.
We need a record.
Now listen to this.
Is that what
This,
you want me to do with it?
well,
We need a record.
this is what was brought up here is that we can have an officer of the law serve, right? That's what happened. That does happen. So Sergeant Arnold, I guess, is going to serve this. But we are asking that you knock on the door and see if he'll come out so we can witness it to
But he
be
also
served.
said he's willing to paste it.
I'll paste it to the door also. He does it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and I think there's not much more that's needed to be shown of this specific video right here. And the biggest reason why I wanted to review all this is because this has got me kind of mixed. I mean, on the one hand, I do generally respect police enough, at least, to not generalize them as a whole bunch of inherently bad people. Obviously, there is some bad apples, and I would say that the one guy who made the arrest of the mother was in the wrong. He shouldn't have done that. And on the other hand, I also want to say that even if you want to think that there is justification for all these government restrictions in our lives because of COVID-19, there still has to be a line drawn. And I think that a solid line was drawn right here in this protest, that it shouldn't have happened, that the arrest shouldn't have happened. And they, at least the people in Idaho here, they made a message to their own government. I don't know of how much that message reminisces to, say, California or Pennsylvania or any of the other more coastal states like that. But still, all the same. And ultimately, it might not be enough of a message. But I want to applaud these people for ultimately protesting the arrest. And even for those who think that a whole lot of this is unjustified, if not all of it is unjustified, and I consider myself to be in that camp as far as how government is handling the coronavirus thing. That I do want to say there is a line that has to, that even more so, there has to be a line drawn of where you just say a solid fuck no. And here it was put. Ammon True Grave says Ammon Bundy looks like him. Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind, True Grave. I might try to look that up. But let's take a look at this, because it says Sarah Brady apologizes to Meridian police after a recent arrest. So I just want to go check it out as to what exactly happens here. What is the context being provided? This is a local news station, so let's go.
So I want everyone to know here today that I did contact the Meridian Police Department, and they know that I'm here. This is not a rally. This is not a protest. I'm here to read a letter to the officer. I'm going to leave out his name for the protection of him and his family. And try.
By the way, I want to premise that I had watched the first two videos fully myself, but this I'm watching for the first time. So let's go.
To minimize as much as possible any more attacks on him and his family and the police department. I hope you'll have an open heart when you read this. I'm sorry that I could not say this to you in person. This is the best way I know how to communicate my thoughts and feelings to you. I've been told talking to you would not be beneficial concerning the charge against me. However, I'm a mom who strives every day to teach my children to take responsibility and ownership when a mistake is made, and I want to try to make this right between us. I never thought a knee-jerk comment made to you out of frustration by me wanting my kids to play at a park would create such a divide amongst our friends, family, community, the state of Idaho, our nation, and the world. A divide that seems impossible for me to mend.
Well, a divide is being made with of how intrusive that the government is being more and more in people's lives. Zachary Colley says, you didn't even attack him. What the hell? In all caps and parentheses. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really that she has to apologize. I mean, if anything that she has to apologize, it's for the fact that the people were protesting in front of the guy's house with the, like she said, the guy's family, the police officer's family present and whatnot. And like I said earlier in this stream, that is the one side that I do disagree with the protest. I agree with the general protest itself, but where the protest took place was what I thought was kind of a little bit on edge and just a tad bit dangerous. What was I gonna say? You didn't individual states overstep. Aircraft Sparky says the individual states overstep, not the federal government, which is interesting. The federal government, Trump initiated an executive action against quote unquote hoarding and price gouging. So I would disagree. The only thing the Fed really did was to restrict, and prevent profiting off of this emergency. Okay, as he said right there in the very next sentence, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the Feds did something more than just that. But even that is bad enough in of itself. But on the other side of this, I will give the benefit of the doubt that the states are a little bit more at fault for how this is being handled than the federal government, but the federal government is definitely not free of blame for the handling of this. She talked to the manager and was told she won't win here. Okay. All right. I posted a Wikipedia. I posted is Wikipedia in Strikeforce News, says True Grave. I think you meant to say posted a Wikipedia page or something. Yeah, I don't think she should apologize to them. She doesn't have to apologize for anything. Screw that cop. I understand her at least apologizing for the danger that was put upon the cop's family, though, Metal Doomer. I mean, I think that would be like the only thing that she ought to apologize for. But the arrest itself and to him personally, not so much. Restrictions like that happen at every emergency, Darkcon. Preventing price gouging is common in an emergency. Well, here's the thing. Price gouging, I have mentioned this criticism so many times that I'm getting blue in the face now. But the problem that I have against price gouging orders or anti-price gouging laws is, what if a individual store legitimately does have to raise their prices in order to compensate for supply and demand, but the government says, oh no, you can't do that? That is going to ultimately hurt the store. I mean, it's definitely going to do it for the small mom and pop shops, all the smaller grocery stores, but even for the larger chain grocery stores, a Walmart might feel incentivized to shut down this one Walmart and divert more of their efforts in this other Walmart in the same city, because at that one Walmart, they're finding it too expensive in regards to supply and demand. And, you're not allowed to do quote unquote price gouging. So, yeah. Got to continue on here, though, folks. I'm getting a little bit late.
The reality of the situation is that I have been stuck at home for the last 5 weeks. And as the rest of America has also watching this great nation and our God-given rights crumble before my eyes, I let the stress of me being in a house with 4 young kids, one with special needs, get the best of me that day. I am on edge from the constant stress of children and trying to tend to their needs, of being bored and cooped up along with other responsibilities.
I do want to say that on the one hand, going to the park is a bit more of a luxury thing to be doing. And so maybe it's at that point that maybe she went about it the wrong way. But at the same time, going to the park and basically making a message to the police is an indirect form of protest. So looking at it from that side of things, you aren't in the wrong for what you did, ma'am.
However, this is not an excuse for my behavior and my part in what happened. While I can't go back in time and change.
You were, in a way, protesting. You were, in fact, justified for it.
Change what's happened. But the truth is, I'm very sorry I let my frustrations get the better of me that day. I come to you and your family, fellow officers within the Meridian Police Department, with a humble heart, full of sadness and regret that a rash sentence made by me, frozen in time, has led to this point. This situation has spiraled so far out of control. Please.
The whole world is spiraling out of control. I mean, what are we going to do about it except for protest against the spiraling?
Please know I never had any intention of going to the park to protest or make any type of political or public statement. I did not rip off any tape off the playground, and I did not see any signs prohibiting playing on the playground.
I'm sorry. I do not know of how much that I believe that side of the story. I mean, it's kind of a moot point as to whether or not she actually did rip up tape. But according to this one other article over here that I do have linked down in the description box below, she did tear up tape. But maybe she didn't. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's the one thing that I'm doubtful towards her about. No offense, but still. From what I researched, she did do that.
While I disagree with the current restrictions being put in place that are restricting our freedoms,
yep,
I never intended or thought me going to the park on a sunny day with my kids would evolve to the point I involve the Meridian Police Department, your fellow officers, you, or your family.
Well, it would have possibly involved the police in some kind of way. I mean, Blair White, I'm sure, did not intend for the police to approach her to get the police involved when she was just going on a walk or jog or whatever without a face mask. and yet that's what happened. I mean, let's keep in mind that within this tumultuous time of coronavirus, there is a slightly higher possibility that you might have the police involved and approaching you. I mean, especially if you're going to do something as leisurely and non-essential as going to a park or taking a jog and whatnot. So, but like I said, his family was at risk of getting harmed in some sort of way because of where exactly they protested at. So there is that. Never claimed they were, Zach. What are you talking about, Eric? Or wait, no, never mind. Aircraft Sparky, I think, was responding to Zachary Colley. Sorry, my bad. We're getting a little bit confused because my name is also Zach, so my bad.
If I had, I would have never attended the park that day. I also want you to know that I had nothing to do with protesters showing up at your home, but I promise you from the...
No, you probably... Nobody, I don't think, said that you or even suspected that you, like, told those people to protest. They just did it on their own volition because they thought this was going too far and that a foot had to be put solidly down. So...
bottom of my heart, I personally had nothing to do again with those actions. I do not condone or support them in any way.
In any way? What are you saying? That you disagree with the idea of protesting against this kind of stuff in general? Or you just disagree with where exactly they protested? And that you think that they should have protested in front of the police department instead of in front of the officer's house? I mean, if you're talking about the latter there, well then, yeah, I agree, fair enough. But if you're talking about the former, protesting in general, well, I'm sorry, I cannot disagree with you much more.
Reach out to organizers asking that this does not happen again. I know more than most that having your address released to the public and having strangers show up at your home, the danger this puts you and your family in. And although I was not involved, I'm so very sorry this happened to you and your family. And I want you to know I have reached out to the organizers asking that this never happens again.
Did you tell them not to protest in general, or did you tell them to just... Okay. With the context of what she's saying right there and talking about, I guess the context of what she requested is that they don't protest in front of somebody's house, which I'll give the benefit of the doubt that that was what she was specifically requesting.
Leave this letter with you and the Meridian Police Department in the hopes that this will help mend the huge divide that has occurred between us, our community, and our country. Thank you.
All right. That's all that has to be said right there. There's Inside Edition, controversy after Idaho mom is arrested at playground. Okay, never mind. That's the end of that part of the show, folks, as we are going to just move on and go talking about the coronavirus death numbers. So, as you all might have heard, as a whole bunch of posts have been made on Facebook about this, and probably on Twitter and other places as well, there is cause for suspicion that the doctors, the hospitals, and the government itself might be overcounting on the amount of deaths from coronavirus, as explained in both of these two articles right here. I'm going to have to save these two articles for another time because I just realized that Loudmouth Reviews has just started his stream. But yeah, but I'll read this article at the end of the stream. But anyway, so talking about coronavirus overcount. So I read at least two articles from a couple of pro-lockdown people. For lack of better wording, I'm going to call the people who are more paranoid about the coronavirus and want the government to take more action on this. I'm going to call them pro-lockdown people, for lack of better terming. But all the I've read at least two articles on the pro-lockdown and pro-pessimism, pro-caution side of things as to what the logic is as to why they think that the death numbers are not being overcounted. So basically, I pretty much believe that, yeah, there might be a possibility that they are overcounting because some of these deaths from coronavirus, supposedly, they're not being tested. the people that are dying are not being tested for whether or not they had COVID-19. Basically, as explained by both articles, they are just the evidence that they're going off of is some quotes from Fauci. Like, I do not know of how much I question the credibility of Fauci or not. I'm pretty sure that a whole lot of other people in my audience and people out there in general have a whole lot more questions as far as Fauci's credibility goes, which that's fair enough. But I'm just speaking for myself on that regards. But basically, all that they're doing is like just pulling quotes from Fauci, which appeal to authority is not always fallacious. But at the same time, Fauci was not providing any logic or data or stats or anything in either of these two articles as he was quoted, or at least one of them anyways, he was quoted. He wasn't providing anything of substance to back up his arguments and his statements as to, oh yeah, the coronavirus deaths, they're not being overcounted and blah, 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 blah. And these two articles basically go shooting themselves in the foot at the same time, as they go admitting that, yes, the doctors don't know for absolute certain, like there isn't a test being put on all these people that are dying, but they're just going off of their best judgment, quote unquote. So basically, they're assuming or presuming and whatnot. Like, honestly, what was I going to say? Like, honestly, I don't want to like call too much into doctors' credibility because I do have a great respect for doctors, especially in this time of crisis, for trying to keep people alive and habilitated and whatnot. But at the same time, it seems that a lot of them, too many of them anyways, are being jackasses with the how that they're assuming that these deaths are from coronavirus. I mean, for all you know, it could be like the more common seasonal flu as opposed to coronavirus. I don't have any guess percentage or whatever. I cannot guess on what the percentage of deaths is that are being assumed wrong to be coronavirus deaths, but still, it calls into question. It could be 10,000 of them are not coronavirus deaths and only assumed to be so. It could be 20,000 that are falsely assumed. Who knows? We'll probably never know. And it just kind of gives me more reassurance that ultimately coronavirus deaths seems to be only marginally higher, if not any higher at all, than regular seasonal flu. The death rate, anyways, that is. So this is the reason why I personally want to say that I call into question that 40,000 deaths so far from coronavirus figure that I had researched in the last episode of Strike Force that Loudmouth had kind of pointed out. It seems unconfirmed so far as to whether or not things are overcounted. But the arguments against saying that they're overcounted seem kind of fallacious, in all honesty. Pro-lockdown, just call them pro-martial law people. That seems like a little bit harsh there, JC Armitage. So I personally won't, but if you're going to, I mean, whatever. I guess there was another article that I just remembered that I wanted to read, talking about as to how the hospitals are possibly being paid to count deaths as coronavirus deaths. I mean, don't quote me on that specifically. I'm only just remembering the title of the article. I didn't even read it at all. I meant to read it for this show, but I forgot to prep it. So forgive me on that part, folks. But what I want to do right now is kind of end off this show on a bit of a high note, on a happier note. This is kind of an older article. It's from March 24th, but basically it's from a Fox network, so take it with a grain of salt. But it's a more local, more localized branch of Fox News, Fox 6 now. So I think it might be a little bit more credible than the mainstream Fox News. But basically, the article goes, Miller officials announce $1 million donation to help bartenders out of work due to COVID-19. So basically, private sector stimulus checks given to people, welfare checks given to bartenders who are out of work. And I wonder if they like are keeping it up or if it was just a one-time thing. I mean, if it's just a one-time thing, well, then that's good enough in of itself, but still. So anyway, Milwaukee, taps are off, but tips are needed. That's the message from Miller officials, donating $1 million to support bartenders out of work due to the coronavirus. How long did I go? I've just hit the 1 hour mark on this stream, folks. I'm probably going to make this the last article of the day and just join Loudmouth streamer after this. But anyway, taps are off, but tips are needed. That's the message from Miller officials, donating $1 million to support bartenders out of work due to the coronavirus. The announcement was made on the Miller Lite Twitter page on March 20th. And I do also want to say, folks, that I like Miller Lite when it comes to those three American staples right there. Miller Lite, Bud Light, and Coors Light. I like Miller Lite the best. And this gives me all the more reason to like Miller Lite if they're like doing these humanitarian donations to people who are out of work. The donation was made to the USBG, United States Bartenders Guild, National Charity Foundation's Bartender Emergency Assistance Program. The organization set up a virtual tip jar, quote unquote, to help bartenders not working after Governor Tony Evers ordered bars and restaurants to close except for carryout or delivery in an effort to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Governor Tony Evers. Of what state would that specifically be? Did they mention what state this is going for? Yeah, they did not mention what state. Like, who is Tony Evers of? I don't know. Let's continue on. Maybe they'll say a little bit later. USBG NCF officials shared this message on their website. We are raising funds for our COVID-19 relief campaign in order to bolster our bartender emergency assistance program for the influx of applications we know is coming. We are here to help those in our industry most in need, and we ask you to, quote, help us serve those who serve us, unquote. With the turmoil and uncertainty created, I think they meant to say by the spreading COVID-19 virus, the service industry and the beverage industry in particular is being hit hard. The closure of bars, restaurants, and venues means that these vital members of our community are no longer able to earn wages and take home tips. It is imperative that we, as an inclusive, amazing, extended beverage industry community, make sure that our bartenders can go back to serving drinks once all of this is over. If you or someone that you know is a part of the beverage industry and is in need of financial assistance, please apply for an aid grant, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, like I say on every program of Strike Force, the links for the articles I read will be down in the description box below, so check it out if you guys want to give assistance in that way. But let me see. Let me see if there's like anything worthy of addressing in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to probably end this stream right here as it's gone on for a good solid hour and I want to join Loudmouth stream. If scary men with guns are telling you that you're not permitted to leave your house, does the wordplay actually matter, True Graves? Asks Mikhail. Well, to play devil's advocate, I mean, I guess you could say that it's like a state level martial law for whatever state is literally doing that kind of shit. But when I think martial law, I think on the federal level more specifically. And so far the federal government hasn't so far gone to do that. The president hasn't gone so far to do that. So, and let's pray that he keeps that up, folks, that he keeps on not calling martial law at least. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that be disapproved of Trump, but at least he hasn't so far went to do that. Martial law is a Fed thing, says Myth Cuttlefish. All right. Yeah, that's what I thought, Myth Cuttlefish. And Mikhail says, agreed. Thank you. He won't. The curve is flattening, says Myth Cuttlefish. Yeah, and let's hope that it'll stay flattening. Although there is like a possibility of a second coronavirus wave, could be deadlier, CDC chief warns. Of course, that's from the CDC chief, so take that with a grain of salt. But we'll read these two articles in a later episode of Strike Force. No, I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway. I think that's where I'm going to end the program right here, folks. Thank you all for tuning in and giving a big ole healthy CDC is communist Chinese Communist Party, says Myth Cuttlefish. Yeah, might as well be. I mean, particularly the WHO, the World Health Organization, is in bed with the Chinese Communist Party. But anyway, so for all of you who have watched, thank you for contributing so much to the views of this show. And if you like the stream, don't forget to hit that like button down below, as that helps with the algorithm and so forth. And I hope to see y'all later. I might do another Strike Force News stream on Friday, as I did not get to everything that I wanted to today. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, whether I do it on Friday or next Monday or Saturday or Sunday or something. I don't know. Yet to be determined. But like I said, I'm going to be on Loudmouth Reviews channel. Go to his channel if you want to meet up with me there. I'll also give the link to that in the Discord server. But hope to see y'all later. God bless. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And fuck the Chinese Communist Party. Peace.